Welcome to We Give an F12, the podcast about IT, managed services, and cybersecurity that makes your business more productive and secure.
Hi everyone, this is Maheen and welcome to Elevate and Transform AI Strategies for SME Success, brought to you by Canadian SME and proudly sponsored by F12. This podcast series is dedicated to helping small and medium-sized businesses unlock their potential through innovation and technology. And in today's episode, we're diving into the transformative power of AI in IT operations, an essential topic for Canadian businesses that are striving to boost productivity, enhance their security, and stay competitive in a fast evolving digital world. Joining us are two industry leaders from F12.net. First is Brandon Peters, the virtual chief information officer at F12.net, and with over 15 years of expertise in IT and cybersecurity, Brandon specializes in risk management, AI readiness, and advanced security strategies, helping businesses align technology with their goals. Our second guest is Devon Gillard, the program and communications director at F12.net, known for driving strategic growth and offering insights on AI, cloud, and cybersecurity trends. Devon's expertise has positioned him as a trusted advocate for leveraging technology in business innovation. And together, Brandon and Devon will explore how AI-driven tools are revolutionizing IT workflows, enhancing decision-making, and reshaping productivity for Canadian SMEs. So let's dive in. Welcome, Brandon and Devon. We're very honored to have you both on the podcast. How are you?
Doing very well. Thanks so much for having us.
Excited for the conversation and glad to be here.
Very excited to share your invaluable knowledge on AI-driven IT operations and its impact on small businesses. Now, we all know that AI is, it's reshaping many industries and it's reshaping operations and IT operations. The way it's reshaping it, it's quite fascinating. So let's start by really exploring how AI has evolved in the IT space and why it's a game changer for small businesses. How have you seen AI evolve within IT operations, and what are some of the most impactful applications that you've observed recently?
I think one of the things that we're seeing more than anything is how it's enabling people to do more with less. I mean, we look at the landscape today in many industries, and it's certainly a point in time where we are expected to do more. We're expected to work harder, longer hours, whatever that case might be, and get to a point where we're figuring it out kind of as we go, put in more time, put in more of our effort, more of ourselves into what we're doing. Whereas we can now have these tools that function almost like an assistant for everybody, that everybody gets that executive assistant in a way that can step in and help them arranging with some of their research, being able to pull in information about meeting times, availability for the people that they're working with on a day-to-day basis, help them to generate some of their content. I know me, I'm an infamous backspacer. I write 2 sentences, delete one, and try and make as much progress as I can there, but it's so much easier when that framework gets developed for us ahead of time where we can go in, edit, and put our own spin on it. And I had somebody ask me around this time last year, they're like, oh, in your opinion, is this going to be the death of human creativity? And I think it was Larry Page who was talking about how this is actually going to only open and expand our capabilities to be more creative because we're not getting lost in the minutia, not getting lost in the formatting, in the little functional pieces of our day-to-day lives where we can let our content speak more of who we are instead of trying to meet the criteria and the deadlines, the crunch that we're going through on a regular basis. And I know we're going to talk about it a bit more later on, but the way that it's protecting us from some of the cyber threats goes without saying, because it's certainly being used against us. So why not fight fire with fire?
That's a very insightful overview, Brandon. And it's so fascinating to see how these advancements are tailored to address the specific challenges that small businesses face. Now, Devin, from a customer advocacy perspective, how are small businesses embracing AI and what challenges do they commonly face during adoption?
Okay, well, I love the way you phrase that question because we're seeing a big difference, and this is understandable, between how enterprises are adopting AI, how the mid-market is, and how small businesses are, and the challenges in each of those approaches. Specific to small businesses, there's sort of two ways in which they're embracing AI. One is they're embracing it within product stacks that are already part of their ecosystem. So their accounting software is enabling AI, their Visual Studio platforms, their workplace automation software, if they're using any of that, is getting AI, and the small business is more or less along for the ride. They're benefiting from the investments that are being made by the industry writ large. They just need to keep up with those changes. But when we talk about the challenges, it more often is the second time, or the second type of AI adoption. That's where there's these AI tools that have exploded in the last couple of years.
Mhm.
And so small businesses look at them and see that they can get things done. They can change how that they operate and their client experience through using these tools. So great, everybody knows that these are awesome and wonderful things can happen. What do small businesses struggle with? One is actually the discipline and knowledge and skills on how to use AI. It's something we call prompt engineering, which is a fancy word for how do you talk to AI?
Mhm.
Small businesses, people wear a lot of hats. And so they don't get to specialize often in just one task. I'll take marketing as an example because AI adoption in content generation has been huge. Our head of marketing has developed prompts or questions for AI that are massive in length and very clear in specificity. And she'll reiterate and ask questions and develop, whether it's image creation or content creation. She's got the skills in order to get the results she wants. Small businesses often don't have somebody that can just focus on how to be an expert talker at AI. And so they try a few prompts, they don't get results that they like, and they get frustrated and maybe discard it. The other issue that small businesses encounter is when they want to adopt some of these platforms where AI can interact with their own data and surface information and help them, they aren't ready yet. That is to say, they haven't got everything saved to the cloud or in an appropriate manner so that AI can adopt it, which leads to information we call it rot, it's redundant, it's obsolete, or it's trivial. And that means AI will give redundant, obsolete, or trivial answers. So those are there's a skill to learn, and there's also a hygiene, a data cleanup that needs to happen with small businesses, and we're seeing them struggle in both those respects.
No, AI is transforming IT operations by making processes smarter and more efficient. There's no doubt about that. Small businesses that embrace this evolution can really unlock new levels of productivity. And listeners, AI is no longer a luxury. It's a necessity at this point. And from enhancing productivity to fortifying security, embracing AI can unlock immense potential for your business. Next up, we'll discuss how AI can fortify cybersecurity for small businesses, because cybersecurity is a top priority for every business today, and AI's role in fortifying these security measures has grown exponentially, offering smarter, more proactive solutions. So, Devin, could you share how AI-driven tools are revolutionizing cybersecurity strategies for businesses?
I can only scratch the surface on this topic because it's massive. And Brandon laid it up very well when he talked about a sort of an arms race. The
Mhm.
bad guys are using AI to attack us in ways that are unthinkable 5 years ago. That's the speed in which they can do it and the way they can iterate through different avenues to try to attack our weak points, find them and exploit them. So one way is that smart businesses are keeping an eye out for the evolution of the tools themselves. So sort of like my previous answer, sometimes the vendors we partner with are injecting AI into their services and products in order to make sure that they're keeping up with the attacks. So
Mhm.
always be scrutinizing your cybersecurity platform, your software. If you made a decision on a product 3 years ago, it may not be fit for purpose today. Just as we see in any war, right? Yesterday's weapons don't work, and yesterday's defenses don't work against today's weapons. The other part is in how we can take AI and its ability to iterate and find holes and weaknesses and turn that inward. And so what we're seeing is the use of AI in detection and response of cyber threats, or in vulnerability scanning and penetration testing, so that really are able to, for a low cost, look at tens of thousands or millions of different that is to say, vulnerabilities in your organization, and figure out ways that they can be patched. Used to take individuals months to do the same thing. It can now be done literally in seconds or minutes. So we have to be using every avenue to speed up and improve our response to threats because the bad actors are doing the same.
It's so remarkable how AI is making businesses more secure. We're really simplifying all these operations. Up next, we'll explore how AI boosts productivity through workflow automation because, AI isn't just solving IT problems, but it's also about optimizing workflows and enabling better decision making. Brandon, this one's for you. How does AI-driven automation empower small businesses to streamline their IT workflows and boost efficiency?
I think the biggest thing that it's going to take out is it's going to take out some of that redundant work, the manual data entry, those elements that are being input by somebody whose role is to just literally stare at a screen and type. It can lead to poor job satisfaction, people feeling like they can do more. And with these tools, they can. They can finally have these elements that are being integrated, like Devin talked about, where it's integrated directly into some of their tools that they're using on a day to day basis. If it's their ERP solution and there's AI integrated, they can use it for data analysis in a way that if they don't have a full time data scientist, they might not be able to have done ever before. They can bring this into a point where it's not only showing them numbers, but graphs and trends and predictable elements that they can look to bring in. It's also the pieces where if there is that human element, that human interaction that has to happen, and somebody has to remember to do it, has to step in and actually hit the button to make X do Y, then we at least have something that can capture that. If we can turn it into an automated task that follows a very key line of thinking, a key set of processes, there is no room for error anymore. It's not something that gets forgotten. There's not a step that gets missed. It's something that's all put into it. So when it's repeatable in the exact same way. There's not that room for error, that room for deviation. So you now also have an element where you know that data that you're getting, that input that's coming into your system is created in a way that you've already defined it. There's not that typo, there's not that missed line where somebody skips something and then it's going into another row, data's being thrown off. You know exactly where it's coming from and exactly what it's looking like. And now you're getting people to actually work with the data and analyze the data rather than being the ones that have to enter it and then figure out the analysis from beyond there. They have these capabilities where their skill sets can be used so much more productively within the business. They can really leverage what they do best instead of it being just there to type.
Mhm. It's incredible. It's really incredible how automation tools can free up resources and allow teams to focus on core business priorities. But Devin, can you please share an example of how F12.net has successfully helped a small business enhance productivity through the AI-driven solutions?
Yeah, particularly about enhancing productivity, two come to mind. One is market research. So we had a customer, we have a customer who has to analyze competitors and how they're positioning products and across the regions of Canada, what the retail price is for their competitors' products. And that used to be very laborious. Now they can ask their AI agent, and it goes out on the web because it's connected in real time and builds a table of today's prices of their competitors across these products. So they're able to get to competitive intel at low cost and close to instantaneously. So that's really a huge advantage. The second one is more day to day that applies to almost everyone, and that is injecting artificial intelligence, a product called Copilot, into Microsoft Teams, a meeting like we're having right now, where it's keeping notes. It's recording action items. It's prompting questions that are unclear. And then when the meeting's finished, you say, okay, write me an email to provide the minutes and the summary and action items. And in seconds, you now have a summary of the meeting for everybody who didn't pay attention during it. And for everybody who was confused about what they agreed to
Yeah.
do, you fire that off. These things used to require 20 minutes of your time to assemble, and now they're done for you. It's just a simple way in which businesses are leveraging AI in little ways that cumulatively have a really big impact.
Mhm. No, there's no doubt of that. Automation is truly revolutionizing IT workflows, really enabling businesses to focus on growth and innovation. And by streamlining operations, it's creating opportunities for efficiency. Now we'll talk about how to prepare your business for AI adoption. Now, AI adoption, and we know that it requires strategic preparation. Let's discuss how small businesses can evaluate their readiness and set themselves up for success. Devin, what steps should a small business take to assess its readiness for AI, and how does F12.net support this process?
I'll start what in my experience businesses shouldn't do, which is jump on the bandwagon and expect results by investing in AI. See many organizations buy the latest AI bot and hope it's going to improve their customer service and all that sort of stuff. In fact, what I believe and I strongly recommend it starts with is a conversation. What is it you're trying to accomplish? What's out there? Get a little bit of a level set. And then the second thing is, before you bring it into your organization where it's going to interact with your data, I talked earlier about redundant, obsolete, and trivial data, conduct a readiness assessment, which F12 offers to help organizations. There's others who do it as well, to help organizations figure out what they need to do, what steps and measures and protections they need to take before they bring in AI, and chart a successful adoption plan that has an ROI. There's targets you're aiming toward.
Mhm.
This isn't monumental, but if you don't sit down and define success before you begin, you're likely to wander around and waste a lot of time and money.
Those are actionable insights, and it's so reassuring to know that there's still guidance available for businesses that are venturing into AI. Brandon, what role does the AI maturity model play in helping businesses align their AI initiatives with their goals?
I think the biggest piece aligns very well with what Devin was just talking about, of having these actionable outcomes, understanding what the objectives and key results are going to be from going down this path. If you're looking at this as let's open it up and let people use it, you run into a few different problems. One, are they going to use it effectively? Are they going to be getting the most out of it? If you're paying for a product that's delivering on it, are you really getting the value for what you're putting into it? Two, if you're not paying for it, then what are they using? How are they using it? Are they going about it the right way? Are they using the right tools? Are they maybe pulling this into uh, systems which can now be exposed online, become part of the large language model? Are there now security risks that are being exposed as a result of some of the information that's being shared out into the model itself? And if we really want to get to the point where we're being more mature in terms of the adaptation, we want to make sure that sorry, I'm going to take that one more time.
Sure.
If we really want to make sure that we're mature in the way that we're adopting this, we want to make sure that we're having those conversations, that we're educating people about how this functions. This is not Google. This is not Yahoo, or I could date myself and start talking about Alta Vista and all the ones that came before. But this is something new. This is something that has to be communicated with in a very different way. It's not throw in your 3 keywords and hope it's going to understand what you're talking about. This is conversational. This is something that we find that more immature, the younger individuals, the fresh out of university intern types don't actually excel with this type of a product. There's research that suggests the people who have management experience, who have the understanding of how to set expectations and how to ask for what they're actually seeking in a way that can be understood, get a lot more out of the product than somebody who is just throwing in a few words and hoping it's going to generate it for them. And then the other piece is making sure that you're continuing that education, that you're understanding where those gaps are. If people aren't using it, you're providing those use cases, the prompts that Devin talked about that might help them along that journey instead of leaving them to sort of flounder there by themselves.
hmm No, you're right. Preparing for AI adoption is the foundation for successful implementation. And for all the small business owners that are
Mhm.
tuning in, preparation is key when it comes to AI adoption. So please take the time to evaluate your readiness and align your strategy with your goals, because a well thought out plan can make all the difference. Up next, we'll discuss cost effective ways to implement AI without really overstretching budgets, because cost is often a concern for small businesses that are exploring AI. So let's discuss how businesses can implement AI effectively without overextending their budgets. Brandon, what
Mhm.
strategies can small businesses adopt to implement AI solutions cost effectively?
I think it actually starts off, and this has been something that we've encountered more and more frequently, is understand what you already have access to. Devin mentioned Microsoft Copilot before. We've had businesses who have come to us and said, "Oh, you know what? We're looking at Copilot, but it's going to cost us, $41 a month per person that uses it. It's not in our budget right now. We can't really afford that. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to go and we're going to license ChatGPT at $20 per person per month and go that route instead, because then at the very least we know there's protections in place for our data by going that route."
Mhm.
What they didn't do, what the businesses who've approached it that way didn't do, is understand what they already have access to by being a Microsoft 365 subscriber. There are elements that you have that would already be covered within Copilot that you would be getting for that $20 within ChatGPT. That's one example. But also understanding if you've got elements that are already part of your system, if you've already got things that are integrated into your applications, if there's elements that you can be using today to do some of that analysis within the subscriptions that you have, understanding if there is maybe a small uptick to do an upgrade on an existing subscription rather than going in a completely different direction and trying something completely new. Really understanding that baseline, understanding where you're coming from, what you're also, again, I feel can't harp on this enough, understand what you're trying to achieve is going to get you to where you need to be in the most cost efficient way possible.
That's a great breakdown, Brandon, and it's encouraging to hear how accessible these technologies are becoming for small businesses with budget constraints. Um, Now, Brandon and Devin, as we wrap up, now that we've come to the end of our conversation, what is that
Mhm.
one final piece of advice that you both like to give to our small business owners that are looking to start their AI journey?
I'll start if it's all right. My one piece of advice is first, lean on your vendors and partners. So before investing time and money into adopting and making your own unique AI, ask your telephony provider how they can help use
Mhm.
AI to improve your customer experience. Ask your IT provider about how they can bring in AI. Make sure whatever your financial system you're using, QuickBooks or NetSuite or whatever, find out how your partner that helps you with that is using AI, because you can lever expertise and examples that are already out there. So lean into your partner network first. That's my big advice.
And from my side of things, I think it's more important than anything to start having that conversation within the organization. Don't ignore it. Don't say, "Oh, we don't have all of our ducks in a row yet. We want to get a perfect policy in place. We want to have a perfect training program in place. We're going to wait to start communicating to our staff until we have all these things flowing." It doesn't hurt to say, "Hey, everybody, we are exploring the path towards AI. We are looking into this. For the time being, we ask you to do this. Make sure you're not using this particular element of it. Make sure, as a reminder, that you're not sharing sensitive and private information into a space where it might be exposed and cause risk. Make
Mhm.
sure that you're not assuming people know what's happening or that they're not going to go their own path simply because they haven't been instructed to do so. People will find a way to work with these technologies, and it's better to get ahead of it, to have that communication in place in advance as you're working through that process rather than waiting for everything to come together.
This is great. Thank you so much, Brandon, and thank you, Devin, for sharing your expertise and such practical insights with us today. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us.
It was a pleasure.
And listeners, today's episode really highlighted the transformative role of AI in IT operations. Our guests, Brandon Peters and Devin Gillard, they shared invaluable insights on enhancing productivity, security, and the strategic planning for small businesses. We'd like to extend our heartfelt thanks to F12.net for supporting this podcast and their commitment to empowering Canadian SMEs with cutting edge AI solutions. For more inspiring content, please visit CanadianSME.ca and subscribe to the Canadian SME Small Business Magazine. See you in the next episode. In the meantime, please stay innovative, stay inspired, and keep thriving.